I'll never forget his face when he said it. That smirk, half hidden behind his $900 Scotch glass. This is brilliant work, Shannon. Truly innovative. I'd like to present it at the board meeting tomorrow. I nodded, smiling like an idiot, proud that after 14 months of late nights, failed prototypes, and sacrificing my entire personal life, my boss finally recognized my water filtration system, a design that could bring clean water to developing regions at 1/10 the standard cost. 26 hours later, I'm sitting in the last row of our company's boardroom. Derek stands at the podium, my blueprints projected on the wall behind him. Except my name is gone, completely erased. My design incorporates a 3-stage filtration process, he explains, using my exact words from our meeting yesterday. My stomach drops. I can't breathe. I raise my hand, opening my mouth to speak, when Derek makes direct eye contact with me and says, "And I'd like to thank my team for their support, particularly Shannon, who helped compile some of the research data." The room erupts in applause. 3 board members approach him immediately, talking investment figures. I hear one say, "This could be worth close to $1 million in the first year alone." I confronted him afterward in the hallway. "That's my design, Derek, my innovation, my patent pending. What the hell just happened?" He looks at me with this cold expression I'd never seen before. "Shannon, let's be practical. Nobody's going to believe the 28-year-old assistant created this. I've been in water engineering for 15 years. This is how business works. I'll make sure you get a nice bonus. I have documentation. The patent application has my name." "Actually," he interrupts, "company policy states all intellectual property developed during employment belongs to Envirotech. As department head, I determine project leadership." He straightens his tie. "In fact, I need someone with more experience handling this moving forward. We'll be restructuring your position." 2 security guards appear behind me. Derek's expression doesn't change. "Your key card, please." "Sorry, I still get worked up talking about this. I'm Shannon Reeves, by the way. I was 28 when this happened. Now I'm 30. Engineering was my life. Is my life. Back then, I was this quiet, dedicated worker who thought talent and hard work were all you needed. God, I was naive. Hey, if you're still with me, please hit like and subscribe. This story gets pretty intense, and I promise what happens later. Well, no one saw it coming, especially not Derek. So there I was, being escorted out of the building I'd spent 80-hour weeks in, carrying a cardboard box with my sad little desk plant and framed engineering degree. People I thought were friends suddenly couldn't make eye contact. Tori from accounting, who I had lunch with every Wednesday, literally turned and walked the other way. Derek Harmon was untouchable. Envirotech's golden boy. Princeton educated, came from money, married to the daughter of one of the board members. While I grew up in a trailer park in Ohio, worked 3 jobs to put myself through state college, and was still paying off student loans. That night, I called my older brother Ryan. "He's always been my rock." "He can't just steal your work, Shan," Ryan said. "You have rights." I laughed through tears. "I talked to a lawyer. The company might technically own the patent, but they can't falsify the inventor. Except I'd need like $50,000 to fight it, money I don't have. And even if I won, I'd be blacklisted from every engineering firm in the industry." "So you're just giving up?" Ryan asked. Something in his voice hit me. Disappointment. The same tone our mom used when I wanted to quit advanced math in 7th grade because I was the only girl and the boys were cruel. Mom had said, "Shannon Elizabeth Reeves, you don't walk away when something's hard. You get smarter about how you fight." I dried my tears that night and made a decision. I wasn't just going to fight back. I was going to destroy Derek Harmon so completely that my name would be the last thing he thought about every night. The next morning, I didn't apply for unemployment. I didn't update my LinkedIn. Instead, I went to the public library and began researching intellectual property law. For 2 weeks straight, I studied every case involving patent theft. I learned about digital forensics and corporate evidence collection. Then I reached out to Mia Chen, a former colleague who had left Envirotech under mysterious circumstances the year before. We met at a coffee shop 20 miles from the city. I'm not surprised, Mia said after I explained what happened. Derek did something similar to me, not as blatant, but he took credit for my environmental impact algorithm. When I complained, HR suggested I was being emotionally reactive. 2 weeks later, I was put on a performance improvement plan. Did you ever consider fighting back? I asked. Mia stirred her coffee. I signed an NDA as part of my severance, but hypothetically, she slid a napkin across the table with a name written on it. This person might be interested in Derek's pattern of behavior. The name was Julia Winters, a reporter for the Technology Ethics Review. Now, I'm not suggesting anyone ever do what I did next. Seriously. But I was desperate and furious and running out of options. I used my still active remote access login IT, always takes forever to disable contractor credentials, and downloaded every email, document, and file related to my filtration system. I found communications showing Derek had been planning this for months. He'd even told the board my design was his before I'd fully completed it. I also discovered something unexpected. Mine wasn't the first innovation he'd stolen. There were at least 4 others, including Mia's algorithm. Each time, the actual inventor was pushed out within months. I reached out to Julia Winters and shared my story, but without hard evidence that wouldn't violate my employment agreement, she couldn't move forward. Corporate theft happens all the time, she said. Without someone willing to go on record or documents that were legally obtained, my hands are tied. Meanwhile, Envirotech announced their revolutionary new filtration system. They even had the audacity to name it after Derek, the Harman Purifier. The company's stock jumped 15% in one day. Derek was interviewed on Bloomberg, talking about his inspiration. Industry awards poured in. And me? I couldn't even get an interview. Somehow, word had spread that I was difficult and made false claims against former employers. Derek was systematically erasing me from the industry. I was down to my last month's rent when Ryan called with news. Sean, Envirotech is hosting a big demonstration of the filtration system at the National Innovation Expo next weekend. Derek's giving the keynote. That's when the plan crystallized. If I couldn't beat Derek in court or in the corporate world, I'd beat him with the one thing he couldn't steal, my knowledge. The filtration system had a design flaw I discovered late in development. Nothing dangerous, but under specific conditions, like a demonstration with different water sources, the third stage filter would clog and fail spectacularly. I'd fixed it in my final design, the one Derek had seen. But my original notes, which detailed the flaw, weren't in the files he'd stolen. I spent my last $300 on a ticket to the Innovation Expo and professional clothes from a secondhand store. I looked nothing like the defeated woman who'd been escorted out of Envirotech. New haircut, colored contacts, glasses, and the confidence of someone with nothing left to lose. The exhibition hall was packed with industry leaders, investors, and media. I spotted Julia Winters taking notes near the front. Derek stood proudly beside the Harman Purifier, about to demonstrate its capabilities with water samples from around the world. This revolutionary system, Derek announced to the crowd, can purify even the most contaminated water sources in seconds, making it potable and safe. He held up a beaker of murky liquid. This water comes from a polluted river in Southeast Asia. I positioned myself near the demonstration table and waited. As Derek poured the water into the filtration system, I raised my hand. "Quick question," I called out, loud enough for nearby journalists to hear. "Has the system been tested with water containing high levels of microbial contaminants combined with industrial pollutants? That specific combination can sometimes create unexpected reactions in multi-stage filtration." Derek's eyes flickered with uncertainty, then recognition as he finally noticed me. His face paled slightly. Of course, he recovered quickly. The system is designed to handle all contamination types. Interesting, I said, stepping closer. Because according to the patent filing, there's no specific accommodation for the pressure buildup that occurs when microbial biofilm interacts with the second stage carbon filtration under those conditions. The room went quiet. Derek's smile became fixed. I'm sure that's been addressed in the final design, I added innocently. Derek's hands trembled slightly as he continued the demonstration. The machine began to make a whirring noise, then a high-pitched whine. His eyes widened in panic. "This is just the normal," he began, but was cut off as murky water exploded from the machine, spraying across his expensive suit and the demonstration area. The crowd gasped, camera flashes erupted. In the chaos, I approached Julia Winters and slipped her my card. "I'm Shannon Reeves, the actual inventor of that system, and I can prove it." The look on Derek's face as he frantically tried to stop the malfunction. That was the moment I knew. This wasn't over. This was just the beginning. After the demonstration disaster, everything moved quickly. Julia's initial article raised questions about the true inventor of the Harman purifier. 3 former employees, including Mia, came forward with similar stories about Derek. Envirotech stock dropped. Derek, of course, denied everything, called me unstable, desperate, a failed engineer trying to claim credit for his brilliance. He even filed a cease and desist order against me. What he didn't know was that I had been methodically building my case for months. Every email, every file, every conversation with colleagues who'd witnessed my work all documented and stored securely. But the real turning point came when I received an unexpected message from someone inside Envirotech, someone I never expected would help me. The message came from Sabine Harman, Derek's wife. "I know what he did to you," her email said. "It wasn't the first time. We need to talk." I almost deleted it, thinking it was a trap. Why would Derek's wife reach out to me? But curiosity won. We met at a small cafe, 2 towns over. Sabine looked nothing like the polished woman from company photos. Dark circles under her eyes, constantly checking over her shoulder. "Derek doesn't know I'm here," she said immediately. "He monitors my phone, my emails, my locations." I borrowed my assistant's laptop. I just stared at her. "Why are you helping me?" She pushed her sleeve up slightly, revealing finger-shaped bruises on her wrist. "He has 2 sides, the charming business genius everyone sees, and this other person. When your filtration system failed at the expo, he came home and she stopped, swallowing hard. Let's just say I paid for your public questions." "I'm sorry," I said, genuinely meaning it. "But I don't understand what you want from me." "I want out," Sabine whispered. "But he's threatened to ruin me if I leave. His father-in-law is on the board, and Derek has convinced him I'm mentally unstable. No one would believe me." She slid a USB drive across the table. "This might help you. It's everything. His private emails, recordings of meetings where he discussed stealing your work." And she hesitated. "And evidence of financial fraud. He's been manipulating project costs, skimming research funds." I felt like I couldn't breathe. "Why not take this to the police yourself? The files are encrypted. I don't have the technical skills to access everything, but I know you do." And honestly, her eyes met mine. "I'm terrified. He's got friends in the department. If this fails, he'll know it was me." That night, I examined the USB contents. Sabine was right. Derek wasn't just a thief. He was embezzling company funds, creating fake research expenses, and pocketing the difference. But most damning were the audio recordings of him explicitly discussing how to steal my filtration design and push me out. If you're still with me, please hit that like button. What I'm about to share next changed everything, and honestly, I still can't believe how it all unfolded. I knew I had to be careful. With evidence this explosive, I couldn't just go to the police or Envirotech's board. Derek had connections everywhere. Plus, some of the evidence was obtained questionably. I needed to make this airtight and public enough that it couldn't be swept under the rug. I contacted Julia Winters again and brought in one more ally, Professor Elaine Barker, my former engineering mentor from college. She was respected throughout the industry, with an impeccable reputation and connections to the patent office. Together, we formed a plan. First, Professor Barker reviewed my original designs and the Harman purifier specifications. She signed an affidavit confirming the technology was unquestionably my creation, pointing out subtle engineering markers that proved my authorship. Meanwhile, I worked with Julia to prepare a comprehensive exposé, carefully structuring the narrative around legally obtained evidence. For the material from Sabine, we created a whistleblower identity to protect her. The trickiest part was the financial fraud. We needed someone inside Envirotech's accounting department to confirm the irregularities. Remember Tori from accounting, who couldn't look at me when I was escorted out? I took a chance and reached out. I always knew something was off with those research allocations. Tori admitted when we met. Derek threatened to fire me when I asked questions. I have a kid in college, Shannon. I couldn't risk it. You can remain anonymous, I promised. But we need someone to verify these numbers. She hesitated, then nodded. Send me what you have. Everything was in place. The night before Julia's article was set to publish, I received a text from Sabine. He knows, be careful. Then nothing more. I didn't sleep that night. The article dropped at 6 a.m. Corporate theft, the dark side of innovation, splashed across the Technology Ethics Review. By 8 a.m., it had been picked up by 3 major news outlets. By noon, Envirotech's stock had plummeted 27%. Derek tried damage control, calling it baseless slander from a disgruntled former employee. But Julia had done her job thoroughly. The evidence was overwhelming. Professor Barker's technical analysis proved I was the inventor. Tori anonymously confirmed the financial discrepancies. And those recordings, hearing Derek's actual voice plotting to steal my work, were impossible to deny. At 2 p.m., I received a call from Envirotech's board chair, Martin Geller. Ms. Reeves, this is quite a situation. It certainly is, I replied, surprised by my own calmness. We'd like to discuss a potential resolution. Perhaps you could come to the office tomorrow? I almost laughed. Mr. Geller, I was escorted out by security less than 4 months ago. I'll meet you, but at my attorney's office. I didn't actually have an attorney yet, but he didn't need to know that. Very well, he conceded. And Ms. Reeves, for what it's worth, several board members had no idea about any of this. The next morning, I borrowed a pantsuit from Mia and walked into the law offices of Brennan Associates, a firm that had agreed to represent me on contingency after seeing Julia's article. Martin Geller was already there, along with Envirotech's legal counsel. We're prepared to offer compensation for your work on the filtration system, Martin began. Full credit as inventor, royalties on all sales, and a generous settlement for your inconvenience. I shook my head. That's not enough. Their lawyer frowned. Ms. Reeves, this is an extremely generous offer considering the circumstances. The circumstances, I repeated slowly, are that your company enabled the systematic theft of intellectual property, allowed financial fraud, and destroyed careers, including mine. I leaned forward. I want my name restored as the sole inventor on all patent documentation. I want compensation for all earnings related to my invention to date. I want a public apology from Envirotech. And I want Derek Harmon fired and criminally investigated. That's not on the table, the lawyer said immediately. I stood up. Then I'll see you in court, and I'll be contacting the SEC about the financial fraud tomorrow morning. Wait, Martin said, looking pained. Derek is Marion Westfield's son-in-law. She's our most influential board member. I'm aware of their relationship. I'm also aware that Marion would be devastated to learn how Derek treats her daughter when no one's watching. Martin's eyes widened slightly. What do you mean? I placed a sealed envelope on the table. Sabine gave me permission to share this with the board if necessary. It documents Derek's abuse, physical and psychological. She's finally filed a police report. There's a temporary restraining order in effect as of this morning. The room went silent. 3 hours later, I had a signed agreement meeting every one of my demands. But I wasn't done, not even close. The public apology from Envirotech hit the news cycle the next day. The company acknowledged me as the true inventor of the filtration system, now renamed the Reeves Purifier. They announced Derek's termination and their full cooperation with authorities regarding the financial irregularities. What they didn't announce was that the SEC and FBI were already investigating Derek for securities fraud and embezzlement. Those anonymous tips didn't come from Envirotech. They came from me, using the evidence Sabine provided. 2 weeks later, Derek was arrested at his country club. The look on his face when officers led him away in handcuffs in front of his golfing buddies, I wish I could have framed it. The trial lasted 3 months. I testified for 4 days straight. So did Sabine, Mia, Tori, and 6 other former employees with similar stories. The evidence was overwhelming. Derek was convicted on 18 counts of fraud, intellectual property theft, and financial crimes. At his sentencing hearing, the judge called his actions a betrayal of innovation itself and gave him 8 years in federal prison. As they led him away, Derek looked at me with pure hatred. I just smiled. But here's the part I've never shared publicly before. After the sentencing, as Derek was being let out, I approached him. The guards allowed me a moment. "You know, Derek," I said quietly, "the water filtration system? That was just one of 4 innovations I developed at Envirotech. I filed patents for the other 3 under my own name during this legal process. One of them is worth at least 3 times what the filtration system is." His face went completely white. "You're lying." I smiled. "The semiconductor cooling system, the biodegradable packaging material, the solar cell efficiency algorithm. Check the patent office records. My name's on all of them now." He lunged toward me, restrained by the guards. "You can't do that. Those were developed on company time. Actually, I developed them independently, on my own time. I have dated, witnessed documentation proving it. Documentation I was smart enough to keep at home, not on company servers. Documentation that proves you were never involved." I leaned closer. "You taught me an important lesson, Derek. Always protect your work from people like you." As he was dragged away, I whispered, "Enjoy thinking about that for the next 8 years. That was 16 months ago. Today, I'm the CTO of my own environmental engineering firm. We specialize in affordable solutions for developing regions. The Reeves purifier has brought clean water to over 2 million people so far. Mia runs our research division. Tori heads our finance department. And Sabine, she's found her voice as an advocate for corporate whistleblowers and domestic abuse survivors." I sometimes think about Derek sitting in his cell. I heard he spends hours in the prison library researching my other patents, trying to find a way to claim them. But there isn't one. I made sure of that. So that's my story. From being escorted out of a building with a cardboard box to running my own company, from having my life's work stolen to creating a legacy that's actually helping people. If you're going through something similar, if someone in power is trying to take what's rightfully yours, remember this. They might have the advantage now, but you have something they don't: the truth. And with enough patience and strategy, the truth always finds its way out. I'd really appreciate if you'd like this video and subscribe to my channel. I'll be sharing more about engineering innovations and lessons I've learned along the way. And if you've ever had your work stolen or been pushed aside, please leave a comment. Let others know they're not alone. Because that's the real reason I'm sharing this, so that the next person facing their own Derek knows it's possible to fight back and win. Thanks for listening to my story. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just success, it's creating the future they tried to steal from you and making it even better than they could have imagined.